What do you get when you cross Gremlins, the Fly, and the Elephant Man? You get the substance. And believe me, you're not ready for it. The Substance is out this weekend, and this one came out of left field for me. I hadn't seen the trailer, didn't know it existed, and I had no idea what this movie was about. I went in fresh and unprepared for what I was about to see and experience. And I wish that I would have not gotten that hot dog. This film won Best Screenplay at Cannes Film Festival, and it is a pretty great story, but man, I didn't expect to see what I saw. This movie is not for the weak-stomached or faint of heart. There were 2 other people in my theater, and one guy walked out within the first 30 minutes. I was actually going to see Transformers, but I wanted to review something a little bit more, I guess, adult. Well, I got that and more. Kind of want to scrub my eyes with some Transformers 1 Innocence after that film. The film is directed and written by French director Coralie Farge, who also directed the 2017 revenge thriller properly titled Revenge. She's an insanely bold director and makes some very interesting choices in this movie. Her directing is pretty brilliant, her camera blocking was beautiful, and the way she told this story was beautiful and disgusting at the same time. There are so many contrasting visuals in this movie that were written pretty perfectly. The Substance stars Demi Moore in what I think is her absolute best performance, even dare I say Oscar-worthy. She plays Elizabeth Sparkle, an aging former movie star who was a popular fitness TV show, kind of like the old 80s workout shows with Jane Fonda, but finds herself being aged out at 50 by her manager, who's played by very disturbing and disgusting Dennis Quaid. Which, by the way, it's not lost on me the contrast of her manager. I think it's her manager, Dennis Quaid being 70 in real life, and that men usually aren't aged out in Hollywood. It also stars Margaret Qualley, who plays who plays the better version of Elizabeth Sparkle. She also does an amazing job here, but it's Demi Moore who steals the absolute show. I have a feeling that we'll be seeing more of Demi Moore in a lot of films in the next few years, at least I hope so. She's always been a great actress, but she really shines her talent in this role. The beginning of the film visually describes the story beautifully, with Elizabeth's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame being laid out, and then made, and then faded and cracked over time. You see people taking selfies with the star, being excited to see it, and then it sort of goes into this time lapse where it's cracking, covered in snow, and then people who walk by talking, saying things like, "Remember her? I think she was in that movie," to someone dropping a hamburger and fries on the star, messing it up. It's a really impressive scene that lets you know in the first few minutes the premise with just visuals. It was honestly one of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually. After one of Sparkle's tapings of her fitness show, she has to use the men's restroom because the women's bathroom is out of order. And when she's in the men's bathroom, she hears Dennis Quaid's character, Harvey, come in while on the phone, talking to somebody about hiring someone younger and prettier and getting rid of Sparkle, who is turning 50. This shot is so perfectly blocked, by the way. The way Quaid comes in and the really tight close-up the director chooses is brilliant. Later, Sparkle meets with Harvey at lunch, where him eating shrimp will make you a little nauseous, and he tells her the bad news. The wide-angle cut with tight insert shots here is beautiful and disgusting. The editing in general of this movie deserves an Oscar, I think, along with the sound design. The sounds of Harvey eating and the aggressive sounds of the metal in his boots as he walks on the floor is intrusive and powerful. After that lunch, she's driving down the road and gets hit by a car because she's distracted by a billboard of her being writ down. In the hospital, a creepy-looking male nurse slips a disk drive into her coat pocket with a video explaining something called the Substance, essentially a drug that will make a better, younger version of yourself, out of yourself, actually out of her body. She decides to take the Substance, and like Gremlins, there are certain rules that you have to follow. Rule number 1, remembering that she and her other self are one. That seems to be key here. Rule number 2, the dose can only be used once. Rule 3, every 7 days the older version, or the Matrix, takes over and the younger version, or what they call the other, goes to sleep. And every morning the younger has to take a stabilizer, drain from the older version's body, and inject it into her body to stabilize the younger version. Rule 4. When she takes the Substance, the better version is essentially birthed out of Elizabeth's back, which is pretty gruesome and hard to watch. The whole movie has a lot of David Cronenberg influences, with even a fly scene that feels like it would be in, well, The Fly. There's also some David Lynch influences in here, I think. The younger version, who goes by Sue, auditions for her older self's fitness show and of course gets the gig. 7 days later, Elizabeth comes back, seeing what a star Sue has become, and gets depressed, watches TV, lays around, eats a lot, sits around in a funk, waiting to go back to sleep so her better self can take over again. I was a little confused by why she wanted to let her better self take over, because while she's asleep, she doesn't know what Sue is doing. It's not like she's actually living this life. There's a great scene where Sparkle decides to go on a date, and she's struggling, trying to look the way that she wants to look. She's changing clothes over and over again, taking off her makeup, reapplying it over and over again. She's so tired of seeing herself in the mirror that she gives up trying to look attractive for a date and ends up ghosting the guy. It's an amazing scene because I felt what she was going through. It was that powerful. It was hard to watch the pain she was experiencing. The pain of watching yourself grow old and feeling that because of it, your time is limited and you feel irrelevant. Now, it shouldn't be that way at 50, but I see how a woman in Hollywood can feel that way, or even just, average typical lifestyle or average workplace environment. Sue, who starts to take advantage of the situation and starts breaking the rules of the substance, doesn't understand the consequences for her, because she and Elizabeth are in fact one person, and it leads to a very disturbing, unexpected ending that I didn't see coming. It was a ridiculous, illogical, but at the same time a brilliant ending, and the very last shot bookends the movie with the first scene, and everything comes full circle. I have to say that I really appreciated the practical effects here. It's rare that you see this sort of thing, and again, it brought me back to the movies like The Fly and The Elephant Man. But honestly, this isn't really my kind of film, and I probably wouldn't want to see it again, but I appreciate the story, the directing, the editing, the sound design. The movie is a lot to handle. It is rated R for so many reasons. If you're squeamish in the slightest, this movie probably isn't for you. The Substance, all in all, has amazing performances, fantastic directing, some of the best cinematography that I've seen in a while, a fantastic story, and some shocking imagery for a psychological body horror movie. It will probably be a cult classic for years and years to come. That's why I'm giving this film 7 bottles of Activator and 1 creepy Quaid. So tell me, what do you think of The Substance? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe only if you appreciated this content. And remember, don't stream it first. Let's go to the theater and see it together.